everyone. Welcome to unMadeGaming, where we'll peel your fruit on the internet. That being said...
it's not quite sex work.
It's not. You're right. It's not. That being said, we are here for another episode of whatever the fuck this is.
What show is this?
Who knows? If you guys like what we do here, whatever it is, please go check us out on Patreon. If you want to talk about whatever this is, go check us out on Discord. And most importantly, the bar in the bottom right-hand corner, check that out. Fill it up with your monies. It does two things. One, when it fulls, Johnny gets to do whatever the hell he wants to us. But more importantly, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to these wonderful, beautiful, amazing players that you see before you. And with that, I will turn things over to Johnny for his carefully worded recap.
You know what? It was a chore to write today. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it's carefully anyways. Yeah. Well. All right. Anyways, previously on Age of Darkness, the group's journey has become complicated. Innocently, they had traveled to the Sprighton Plains to discover the circumstances of a village reporting unusual attacks. When they arrived, they found it devoid of gelflings. What they discovered instead was damaged dwellings, unusual tracks everywhere, and 2 Fizzgigs. Giving the entire area a thorough search, they shared a couple of dream etchings and discovered the truth. The gelflings had been taken by some unknown creatures. Poised to return with this information to the Aughras, the group discovers a podling who was hiding. After some convincing, Tog, the podling, shares that he was sent there by his village to trade with the gelflings. It would seem that the podlings were also experiencing some trouble and were in desperate need of food. Taking a moment to consider the options, the group decides to investigate further and follows the podling south to his village. Along the journey south, the group encounters landstriders running from Makita. In an ensuing encounter, the group discovers the true impact of the darkening that is happening all over Thra. Further south, they venture and discover that their journey is paralleled by an unknown group of creatures that are moving toward the podling village as well. The group arrives first, only to discover similar circumstances. Just like the Gelfling village, the podling one is empty. Tog, it turns out, takes them where the podlings are hiding. It seems that the podlings are aware of the creatures who have been terrorizing the land. As the group finds safety with the podlings in a grove of trees, the sinister creatures finally arrive. Large, monstrous creatures with Aratham legs, huge claws, and dark purple glowing eyes. The group is suddenly forced to deal with them. Fighting 2, fearing more, the group was able to subdue the 2 before making their escape with the podlings south. As we fade in, the group has found a refuge in a hollow on the edge of the swamps of Sog. Initially fearing for their safety, they find a friendly face from the Drenching clan. As we're fading in, we find ourselves inside of a hollow under quite a large tree. Now, this is something that had been remembered by Toll. Toll, in his wisdom in his travel across the land, had remembered that there was the safety, this hollow that was on the edge of the swamp of Sog, and had directed all the podlings, about 50 of them, and the 4 of you all down into this particular hollow, and had closed it off. Just as everybody was going to sleep, there was some knocking coming from above along the branches. It was a tapping sound, and it was Alua who recognized it as a signal for safety. As the entrance of the hollow that you had blocked became open, and out of it you saw, reaching through, the hand of a Drenchen. Hello? Friend? Friend, hello?
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Well, what are you doing here?
Running away.
Yeah.
Yeah, giant crab things, murdering stuff. It's been a fun evening. How are you?
At the mention of the giant crab things, her face darkens, and you see that her eyes grow distant for a second. Where did you see them?
They attacked this podling village. We rescued the whole village, I guess.
Yeah, we did all right, I guess.
Podling village? What? And she kind of sticks her head in through the hole deeper. Oh my. How many of them are there?
Many.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of them here.
Also pretty sure they killed an entire Gelfling village up north.
At least one.
Not the podlings, though.
No, yeah, the giant monster things.
She looks at Alua. who undoubtedly has them curled around her somewhere.
She kind of looks in and takes in the situation and listening to all of you. This is... I must take you to the elders. The Madra. The Madra is at Stone in the Wood, but there are elders here who are tending to our needs. While, please come. And she kind of dips her head in, again. I think we should leave them here for now. We'll post a couple of guards to attend to them and send back more food and aid. But the elders need to hear this. And she kind of like pokes her head back and sort of steps up.
Toll climbs out.
Yeah, well, follow.
Velva sadly says goodbye to some of the podlings she'd made friends with. And
I'll probably
see
tap
you
the
later.
one that was passed out on my back on the head. Good job.
The podling she's known for 4 hours.
Right.
Thanks for not being mad that we knocked you out.
Yeah,
All right. Have a nice life.
Tog looks at the four of you, and as you were each making your exit, you hear him mumble the word "friend," and you see him begin to tear up a little bit as he moves back into the hollow to care for those that are in need.
Have you ever seen those things before? Toll will ask the
Drenchen?
Yeah.
She looks at you, and you, for the first time, you're finally able to get a sense of what she looks like, and with the surrounding areas. There are 5 of them, each of them sort of spread out among the various trees around here. Using their staves to pound on the branch or the roots to indicate safety. And as you were able to kind of take them in, you see that they appear to be some sort of like group of scouts but armed scouts or guards kind of a thing. And as you're taking her in, she looks like she has some important role, based on her clothing in the Drenchen clan. She looks at you and she says, "No, I don't think so, but we're getting reports from all over the swamp. From the smaller dwellings off in the edges and some in the deep swamp themselves. We're getting all kinds of reports in the Great Smerith that something keeps coming, sometimes damaging dwellings, sometimes attacking in force. We've lost a count of 6 that we know. But we suspect there are others are missing."
We came from about a day's travel north from here. There's a Gelfling village that has... The buildings are scarred in the same way that match the claws of these creatures, and each of them they're gone. There's several dream etchings there that we all sort of dream fasted and watched these Gelflings. They're not... It doesn't appear as though they're killing them. They're taking them somewhere. And their eyes glow purple.
She raises her hand and says, "Will you show me?"
Did we get a full night's rest?
You did.
Okay, then
yeah, I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Okay,
then he puts a
good
hand
for
out
me.
and says yes, and I will take the 2 points of intellect.
All right. So describe to me what you show her when you do this.
I will show it. I think it just comes in flashes, right? Because he's just trying to give her a recap. So he's going to show her the village. I don't think he can show her a secondhand dream fast. But he's going to show her the village and the claw attack in the Sprighton Plains. And then Tog popping out of the box. And then the village being attacked. And these creatures at the bottom of the trees. And us fighting one of them and killing it, I think.
And maybe the weird things that attacked us too.
The Lance Riders. The Lance Riders
Yes.
they're a normal creature. They're just corrupted, I think.
Yeah.
By the darkening, which is like a spreading thing that everyone kind of knows about, I think.
True.
But yeah, he shows them they did have the similar eyes, so whatever these creatures are also part of the darkening. So yeah, he'll focus on that.
I need you to give me a D6 roll.
Ooh, a D6 roll. Let's see what happens here. A 4.
Damn it.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I basically wanted you to flip a coin because I wanted to know how much of your frustration with the fizz gigs came through in the dream fast.
Oh, I completely the dream fast is devoid of Fizzgig. They just aren't in the dream fast.
They're not there.
He doesn't share that at all.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to find out just to make sure, but it seemed like if you failed the roll, or like if it was a 1 through 3, I was definitely going to have elements of that sort of come through, and it would have been Anyways, so as you are sharing this with her, she talks in her dream fast and shares things with you. In the Great Smurth, the village that surrounds the large sort of tree that it is the center of the Drenching clan's sort of existence. You see that she is a member of the sort of the guards of the sort of the swamp. You know, they are a group of essentially scout warriors who venture out and determine danger and do hunting and come back with information. You see that she is actually at the Great Smurth under the tree in the sort of the room where the elders are currently holding sway while the Mother Aughra is up in Stone in the Wood. And you find yourself just overwhelmed as it seems like the flashes of first one, then another, and another, more reports of Gelflings missing and attacks going on throughout the village, seemingly coming out of nowhere, coming up from the water itself, these crab-like creatures reaching out, grabbing for Gelfling, and then vanishing. That is the stories that are being told, eyewitness accounts. And that there is also sort of a corruption that is based on the darkening that you are all familiar with, that is beginning to creep into the water. These swirls of sort of purple, glowing purple and black, in an otherwise sort of murky, sort of, green and blue sort of setting in the water, beginning to kind of coalesce around certain areas in the wood itself, or in the swamp itself. And as she kind of finishes, you can see that in her mind, for just a second, there's an image of a child, her child, who she shares concern for, and then the dream fades.
As it breaks and they kind of step apart, he looks back to her and says, "Do the Mother know?"
We have only just sent a message. It takes a day or two for it to travel by the new messaging system, the flying creatures, but we haven't received a response yet.
Okay. Well, then we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Go where?
To see the Mother Aughra.
It's a hard journey back up the Black River.
It took all of our effort to defeat one of them.
And we're kind of out here because of them. That's what started us on this path.
The river flows strongly now. It will be a hard journey up. No boat will be able to take you easily. You're going to have to move on foot or find some other means of transportation.
That's how we got here.
I'm sure we will make it, but our message is important.
She looks over to talk and she says, you might be able to help. Aren't you people of the people? Aren't you people of the Crystal Deserts?
Yes. Well, I In a manner of speaking.
I'm not sure I understand.
That's where I'm from, but they kicked me out, so I'm not sure if they are my people.
But you are Gelfling, yes?
Of course.
And you carry a message, yes?
Yes. I suppose 2 messages now.
She looks at you kind of uncertain, but kind of shakes it off.
He's gonna
says,
pull out one of his pamphlets and hand it to her.
He's been waiting for this moment.
If you think about it, they are very combined messages because the Gelfling unity is important if we must defeat these creatures.
And she takes it and she kind of opens it up, looks at you, looks over at Talk as if checking in, and then looks back at him and looks back at Toll and looks at Talk.
Now, what can I help you with?
There are only rumors. I've never been to the desert myself. But are there not creatures that fly across the desert? The skimmers, I think they're called.
Oh, yes. They are very handy.
And she looks back to Toll. I think you and your friends need to get to the Crystal Desert as quickly as possible. Convince some of his clan that you need a fast ride back to Stone in the Wood. Or you can try the Breath of Thra, but only, and he looks over to Alua and Velfa, only they have the ability to ride those winds.
Let's go with that option.
How far are we from the Crystal Desert?
Very far. We cannot go. It's very far away. Much better to do the other thing.
she looks at Talk, and she shakes her head and she says, it's definitely a long journey, more than a day, but right now the river will take you almost a week. If you can get to the Crystal Desert and you can speak to some of the Dushan, you should be able to convince them that a crystal skimmer is the right way to go. Then your journey will be quick. A matter of
Alua
hours
looks
from
at
there.
Talk. She goes, how pissed off at you are they?
I was told not to come back, but it's possible that now they've forgotten.
I mean, we could always just, maybe dress you up a little bit different, and then they won't know who you are, right? That would work.
Perfect. I bet they don't even remember me. It was only, well, it was fine. It was not I'm sure we'll be fine.
So Velfa's gonna reach back and her bundle, she grabs a scarf that she had tucked in her bag, and she's gonna take it and tie it around Talk's head.
We'll start with that, but if they recognize him anyway, I feel like the truth might be more in our favor than... She just looks at him with the scarf on his head, shakes her head.
What's important... Oh, it was before the battle. We established that, so it's been a while.
Okay.
Because he's been traveling. How long ago, Johnny, was the big battle?
The second Battle of Stone in the Wood was a year ago. The council meetup of all of the Madras that is currently happening in Stone in the Wood is to celebrate the year anniversary and to figure out what's next.
So
he's been right about everything he was talking about before. Is that why you got kicked out?
Yeah. So yes and no, right?
Oh, God.
Okay. So all right. So his whole thing was about Gelfling Gelfling rights and like Gelfling unity. And so like he was spouting like a bunch of heretical stuff that did kind of turn out to be true. Yeah. But it's like he was he was right for all of the wrong reasons, kind of. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right? Like he was like he thought that it was just like about like socio-political structures when it was really about a magic crystal. But this all probably went down like 5 years ago. But no, yeah, they kicked him out because he was like basically trying to like start up a heretical political movement to get Gelfling's Gelfling rights. But he had been traveling like before that, because part of the thing is that all the other Gelflings kind of look down on the Doshin, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they basically just sort of. Yeah, he got kicked out because he just has a loud mouth and was saying things no one wanted to hear.
Gotcha.
It's not like he like did anything like super criminal necessarily outside of the heresy.
Kind of, mostly.
Outside of the heresy.
We can work on that. But that's
the thing is like the actual illegal part of what he did is probably not illegal anymore, because we all know.
So that's where Lou is at. She's like, it's probably okay. We'll let him wear the scarf, but if they figure out who he is, we shouldn't lie.
His relationship to the other Doshins is like a bit like Socrates after getting kicked out of Athens, right? It's mostly just that everyone was just like, yeah, we all just really don't like you. Just fucking go.
We didn't like you before, and now we have a reason to get rid of you. So
exactly.
Go proselytize to someone else.
Have fun.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think the disguise is perfect.
Crystal Desert, then, yeah?
We should bring more Gelfling brew, because I lit ours on fire, and the desert is very dry.
We should probably also just get supplies in general, because, I mean, I'm kind of out of jerky. She, like, pats the Fizzgig.
Do you like Crystal Desert food?
I've never been to the Crystal Desert before.
We make excellent chili.
It's lizard chili, but it's chili. I've still got some rations, but water would probably be smart.
Yeah, can you outfit us? And he looks to the Drenchen.
She looks around at the other four, as they're the other four of the Drenchen clan that are continuing to do. Absolutely. We will send a runner for the podlings. For the four of you, I will take you back to one of our caches of supplies that we leave out here. It's just a little bit farther into the swamp itself. My suggestion then would be for you to find some striders. Make your journey as fast as possible. They can close that distance between here and the edge of the Crystal Sea within a matter of a couple of hours. Otherwise, on foot, it'll take you at least a day, maybe more. And it sounds like, and she looks over at Talk, it sounds like you're going to have to do some convincing. You know, he bears a mark.
He's great at talking his way out of things.
You can't hide the mark.
Use the brew as a weapon, he can offer him the alcohol. Yeah, about that mark though.
She says, "Okay, when you're ready, we'll make this short journey to this cache." And she reaches out her hand. We fasted. My name is Lara.
Tall, and he puts his hand out as well. You don't have a strider herd.
We don't need them in the swamp necessarily. We find other ways to find our ways around, but I know that there is a herd just to the west of here that frequents, at least the last time I was at the edge of the plains on the western side. It seemed like the herd was still there. I know that we've had some problems with the darkening and the predators here, so I can only hope that they have remained unaffected.
We had a herd of, well, I guess just 3 striders that were affected by the darkening on the way here, as well as some, what do they call it, Johnny? Ricotta cheese? Rikitas.
Rikita cheese.
They were pretty cheesy, I agree.
They were pretty cheesy.
Now I'm hungry.
And a pack of Rikitas that were chasing them down, all affected by the darkening.
The spread is out of control.
Well, take us to your cache then, please.
Maybe I'll finally get something more than the stick.
Yes, and be grateful to get her.
Toll looks to Velfa, and then like back to Alua. Yeah, I guess.
I'm gonna give her my club for now. Have her put the stick down and like pat her on the head like, you've done good. Here's a club. Be careful with it. It's a wooden club. 2 damage.
Like Toll remembers her running in with the stick and be like, "You're attacking my friends!" But then he remembers a minute later her going, "Oh shit, what have I done?" Like backing away. Oh no.
So I'm gonna give her my club. It's 2 damage. We'll see if they have anything at the cache for her, but I'll give her that in the meantime. You remember how you hit the thing with the backpack? That hard, but with the tip of this, okay?
I have a general idea. I've read lots of books.
Yes, that I'd rather say it and not need to than, not and then the other.
He leads into a little, I think we just stay with the blunt objects.
Yes, she needs blunt things. Yeah, yes.
It's far harder to hurt yourself with that one. You can't accidentally club yourself in the head. I mean, I guess.
As they're saying that, she trips as they're walking.
I guess.
It'll be fine.
As you stumble and fall, you see a flower in the distance that catches your eye.
No.
With a longing gaze, Velfa stares out into the flower and looks back up. The flower, and then like gets her things and starts continuing to follow the group.
So Lara makes conversation with one of the other scouts. There is a sort of brief exchange, a look over at the 4 of you, and then that scout disappears back off and heading in the direction of the Great Smurf. As she returns to the group, she says, "How did the podlings survive?" And she begins to lead you into the deeper into the swamp, in the direction opposite of the Great Smurf.
The creatures can't climb. The podlings erected a small platform village in the tops of the trees, and they would hide up there at night. I guess the creatures only attack at night.
Yeah, and we defended them.
Yeah.
She kind of shrugs like,
it was wild. And she's clenching the
little club.
It was kind of scary too.
Right. Velfa drew a picture of the creatures, and I think the treetop village and a bunch of other plants or whatever.
And so she actually stops at that and she says, "Wait, you have something that I can show other people? We haven't seen them yet. You have, and I can't share his dream. Can you make a copy of that for me?"
Sure, of course. I just need a little bit.
There will be time at the cache.
Great.
And Lair continues to move forward. The ground under all of you begins to get soft and soggy, as you can see more evidence that you're going deeper into the swamp. And then at a certain point, the land begins to form into what look like paths, and there's more like water visible, and different types of plants sort of growing out of the sort of the soggy soil as it goes from soggy soil and mud to small pools of water to the actual swamp itself, beginning to kind of really kind of show its presence. But as you're following these sort of like paths that have been carved or sort of formed through the parts of the swamp that are built up with branches and roots and mud and everything else, she finally takes you deep into the swamp, about another mile or two, leading you to what looks like a piece of land that is sort of jutting out of the swamp itself. And there's a single tree at the top. And she says, we have to find refuge wherever we can when it's wet to keep things dry. Here's the cache. We'll spend a little bit here, and then I will send you on your way. And she leads you all up towards the tree itself. But then you notice that there's a series of branches and a bush, and she kind of pulls back on that, and it reveals what looks to be like a wooden door. And she opens it up and begins to descend inside as she pulls out what looks to be like a stone. And the moment that she disappears down into the stairway down, you begin to see it sort of glow and slowly blossom to life as it shines and brightens the entire pathway down into this cache.
How long have you been storing things here?
Well, we be prepared for when there are difficulties and we're separated or far off in the swamp. We get violent storms here sometimes. It sometimes forces us to be away from our villages and our families for days and even weeks at a time.
Understood. Johnny,
Belfa's gonna... Okay. I was gonna say, Belfa's just gonna tuck somewhere while they're kind of all doing their thing and start making a copy of her sketches.
Okay.
What is in this cache?
So as the four of you descend and follow her in, what you find is a room that has what has been a sort of a paneled floor. It's not like woodwork in the sort of the strictest of sense and like really well done. More of that, it is a series of essentially logs that have been shaped or cut to form a really flat floor and raise it off of the ground. Certain steps, you can see that there is a little bit of a water kind of seeping up and through. And as she steps and she sees something like that, she reaches for what looks to be some sort of a dry, like a dry sort of green type of plant, almost like a dry, like a tumbleweed, but very small. And as she reaches for it and she drops it right there, it begins to absorb and begins to just absorb and grow in size. Now, for Talk would recognize this as a plant that grows in the Crystal Desert, as something that that your clan would use to absorb water to be able to carry it with. And so on these panels, these wooden panels that you're kind of walking around, there's a table, there's a couple of bunks that are kind of high, built high off of this floor. And then there's a series of chests and a couple of cabinets. And immediately she begins to open them up and starts to grab for dry rations for the four of you. She says, there are weapons over there. And then there's any other gear that you might need in order to ride the striders in that one there. And she points to another chest.
I guess we'll get the strider gear. I don't really need a weapon, so I guess Talk will just load up on like water and gear for the striders.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, are there any blunt objects that would be good for Belfa?
There's plenty of blunt weapons, and there are some edged weapons too. So you have your pick here. And as she sees you eyeing it, Lara kind of speaks up and says, there are plenty of choices. Take what you need. We are not the Stone Clan. We do not have the forged weapons they do, but they will keep you safe enough across the plains into the desert.
Never fear, I have my handy knife.
Alua's probably gonna grab a smaller bladed weapon, particularly something shorter than a sword but bigger than a dagger, if possible.
So a short sword?
A short sword, yeah.
Sure, you find something like that.
And then what? She's gonna bring Velfa over and let her have a look.
Oh, wow, there's so many things to choose from.
Yeah, you have your club there, but see if there's something that feels better.
I would pick the biggest one.
Nothing pointy.
I'd pick
What if I
something
wanted to
not
learn swordplay?
too sharp. Yes, but that would take more time than we have. We'll work on that, though, I promise. How about that?
Well, can we compromise and at least just let me have a small knife just in case?
Small knife is fine,
For
but
like cutting food. Like a small one.
No, what if one of those corrupted things come at me again and I don't have anything to stab it? What if it...
You hide behind Alua.
What if she gets killed?
she's got a point. Something small, make sure it has a nice sheath on it. Only pull it out when you're in trouble or carefully cutting something.
Okay, so Velfa's gonna look around and try to see if she can find just like maybe like a small knife that's like on a something she can like strap to herself that she wouldn't.
Yeah,
like a leg strap or something.
And I can't think of anything other than a bigger club for her. I don't know.
I think this club's fine.
Okay, you hang on to that club. And then water, more rope. I would want to replace my rope.
Oh yeah, we used up our ropes.
Talk to me a little bit more about the rope that you're taking. What's going on with that there? Is it just, are you looking for stuff that just your standard kind of rope, or are you looking for a tack or
hemp rope is what I have written down, so I'm replacing that. I had 50 feet of hemp rope that we used with the whole tree thing.
Right.
She prefers it because it's natural, easy to replace.
There's that. Okay. So for Velfa, she's able to find a blade, a short blade that works to what she's needing. But as she's sort of digging through that and finding that particular blade, she comes across a series of scrolls sort of tucked away.
Oh dear.
What's this? And she pulls it out and it goes to open it up to start reading it.
So as you begin to open these up, you find that these are folk tales, specifically about the Drenching clan and sort of the splitting of the 7 clans, like the clans going from 1 to 7, and the folk tales around that. And it talks about heroes, and it talks about how in the age of heroes, the Skeksis were always friends. The Skeksis were always benevolent. The Skeksis were always present. And it makes reference to Aughra as well, but not in a favorable tone.
She's kind of reading this and looks, hey, Talk, you should take a look at this. And she hands it to Talk.
Yeah, he starts reading it.
Because she assumes that he's probably more intelligent than the other two.
Wow. I identify things. Just because I don't carry books doesn't mean I don't read them. Wow.
Give me some sort of knowledge or or intelligence roll. Talk.
I can intellect so good. But unless it's about magic or like specifically about like Thra or like the music of Thra, I don't have any specific abilities.
I'm still okay with you rolling whatever you feel is appropriate here. So
I don't know.
An intelligence roll.
Yeah, okay. Difficulty?
We'll call it a 4.
Sweet. I will spend 2 points of intellect. Actually, all of my magic costs intellect, so I'll save it. All right. Failure.
Can I peek over their shoulder and give it a roll?
Reroll that with an asset. We'll consider Alua's help an asset.
Okay. I'll go. Yeah, that works too.
Perfect.
She would say something very obvious about what it is.
No, doesn't matter.
Still a failure?
Still fail.
Can I try now? You said difficulty 4?
Difficulty 4.
I mean, obviously. Talk. And then she goes to explain what it is.
Yeah, Talk's just like...
Both impressing Velfa and Talk and Toll going, what the fuck?
So...
Just because I don't look like a nerd don't mean I ain't. Or something to that effect that's a little more careful.
So for Talk, what you see is you sense that there is magic here, but you can't just understand what it is. And there's that element of dissonance in the back of your head as it continues to ring forth, causing you disruption. And as Velfa's looking on, and Toll looks like he's absolutely doing a million other things. Alua, you step up and you're kind of looking at the same time, looking over the shoulder, and what you see surprises you. You recognize that the writing is actually in you recognize that the style of writing has the characteristics, though it's in the language of the Gelfling, has the characteristics of being written by a Skeksis.
Okay.
And it begins to create a suspicion in your mind about what other material you might find that had been seeded out there like this.
Awesome. Look at this. Look at this writing. This is... You can tell it's different, right?
Yeah. I think I've seen some books in the library like that back in Harar.
Yeah.
You definitely
by
have.
our lovely friends that we like so much.
Should I roll an intellect, see if she would know it's Skeksis or not?
Sure. Based on, and take an asset. I'm sorry, an asset.
What
because of Alua's roll. We'll call this 3 because you've got some indication of what's going on here. Yeah.
Yay.
Excellent. So as you're looking at this and kind of perceiving the situation, as Alua is kind of pointing things out to you, and Talk is still kind of looking on, not sure what's going on magically. You recognize that the style of writing is not the only thing that's similar to the presentation. The way that the grammar is structured, the way that the words, the sentences are put together on the page, and the framing of it all sounds like a voice of the benevolent Skeksis telling a story
They do have a timbre to them, don't they?
And so as that is becoming apparent to you, you realize that you've read similar stories talking about questioning the authority of Mother Aughra and why, she disappears for years at a time while the Gelflings are left to fend for themselves and seek the aid of the Skeksis.
She'll look for the lady that's in charge. I forget her name because I'm an asshole. Do you mind if we take some of these? This is something that should be pointed out as well.
Lara says, looking directly at you, those have been here for years. What importance do they have for you?
This is showing that this them planning, sowing the seeds of dissonance, trying to get us to not, they wrote them, the Skeksis wrote this themselves for us to feel a certain way about certain things.
Knew it.
Sure you did, sweetheart.
I did. It's in the pamphlets.
Oh, right. God. That. I mean, yes. I guess that, okay. Yeah, we should take this in case the desert people get mad at him again. This honestly might help us case.
This is exactly what I needed.
So if you don't need them, it would be nice. Belfa, you got room in your backpack, or should I put this in mine?
No, I've got plenty of room. She digs around, starts digging through her backpack, and tosses out a few useless things and shoves the scroll in there.
As soon as she says, "I got plenty of room," Toll looks
her giant backpack
to see where she has plenty of room.
Lara looks at the four of you and says, sure, nobody's touched those scrolls in years. I didn't even realize they were still here. They were actually, there was a request from the Vapra clan to send those things. We sent all of that, if I remember correctly, almost a generation ago.
Well, probably didn't seem important at the time.
True.
Well, if you have everything you need, I will take you to the edge of the swamp and point you to the herd.
Much appreciated.
And so she leads the four of you back out, the stone that she's holding still glowing, until she gets to the mouth of the tunnel that leads down, and it diminishes. The light just diminishes as she steps out.
That's cool.
All right, so we're going to cut to her walking you through basically a quick set of transitions. When you're walking through the rest of the swamp, you seeing the very similar experience, of the pools, being larger, and there being large areas of water. And then as she's walking you towards the edge of that and getting back to where it's just mostly mud, she looks and she says, there. And she looks at Toll specifically. Those are the pools that I showed you. That's the darkening there in the water. And as she directs your eyes over in that direction, what you see is a swirling sort of purple and black sort of mass, cloudy and flowing and just sort of swirling. And it's swirling in what looks to be vaguely like a whirlpool side of like a motion, but there's no sort of like center to it. It just continues to swirl. And occasionally there is like this dancing of like electricity, almost like lightning, purple lightning kind of dancing through the purple part of the sort of the swirling. She says, those are appearing all over the swamp now. We fear that our water supply is getting corrupted. We may not be able to stay here much longer.
Do you know how to catch rain? It could be sustainable, but if it's picking it up from these ponds, that's a bad idea too.
The rivers to the east, we can harvest fresh water there, but we don't know if it's going to travel up the river next.
Alpha, make a note in your notes of all the things.
She can turn around and see if she's been taking.
She's already done it.
And so she takes all of you to the edge of the swamp, and you can see that the swamp is, again, the trees are beginning to sort of, become less frequent, and the ground is becoming more dry, as you find that you're back on the edge of the swamp of Sog and on the Sprighton Plains. And as she walks up to a particular sort of tree, and she says, you should be able to spot the herd from here. From here, you should take them and head due northwest to the edge of the desert. And I'm sure, and she looks over at Talk, once you get there, he will be able to do the rest for you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to my group.
Please, the podlings.
Thank you.
Yeah. The podlings will be safe. I promise you.
Oh. They're top heavy. These creatures. Their underside is soft. Like a... I don't know. Like a snail.
Like a turtle.
Well, I think a turtle also has like a shell, but kind of like a turtle, I guess.
Turtle, crab. Go for the underbits. Knock them over if you can.
Also, the legs are fairly fragile, but the claws are not.
You sound like you were able to easily fight these things.
It took all 4 of us to kill one of them, so...
We just kind of set the other one on fire and ran.
Yeah. They are
Fire
flammable.
is good, too. Yeah.
Honestly, we don't really know if the fire actually hurt it. We just ran away.
That's true.
It seemed upset at it, but,
That's true.
They don't enjoy being on fire. How about that?
Duly noted. That gives me an idea. Thank you. And she looks to the 4 of you. Thank you kindly. Be safe on your journey. And just as she's turning, she looks at Talk and she says, whatever you did, be honest with your clan. They will take you and give you aid. They may not take you home, but they will give you what you need. And she turns and she begins to run back towards the swamp.
Good advice, Alua says as she starts towards the plains.
Yeah, Ak will follow.
Shit.
Do we see the Strider herd?
So once you're able to climb the tree that she alluded to, and you get up towards the top of the foliage, you are able to see a Strider herd in the distance. Spread out probably over a quarter mile, you see what appears to be a group of about 30 different Striders who are grazing very peacefully. Very much unlike the Striders that you had encountered running across your path, being chased by the Rakita.
Do I know how to capture a Strider by chance? You were aware of the stone in the wood, so you definitely have experience.
I feel like you're going to know better than I would, but I have some ideas.
Well, as a Sifa, you definitely would have a better experience with sailing rather than riding, but it would be a part of your repertoire to have that experience as well. I think it's Velfa and Nock that are going to have the most difficulty.
Oh yeah. I fully expected me and Toll were catching these things for them. Like there was not a thought in my mind of Velfa like trying to cowboy.
That would be an episode in itself, and it would be fantastic.
A lot of falling and getting dragged into the distance.
That's a bonus show. If we hit the corruption goal, that's a bonus episode.
and her Fizzgigs just gnawing at the feet, trying to get them to stop.
I feel like it would need to be an entire episode where she learns how to sword fight and she wrangles the thing, and it's the Mandalorian. It's
right.
But can we get some sick 80s montage music to go along with that?
Absolutely.
All right, so the one difference between this, Toll, is that while you have ridden Striders before and you have as a part of service, those were always Striders in captivity that you were mounting that were, for lack of a better word, trained, that were domesticated in some fashion or not. These are Striders in nature. They are docile creatures, but they are still wild creatures nonetheless.
Right.
So
would I know anything about that side of things?
Well, let's talk a little bit about Toll's experience in his wanderings away from the stone in the wood. What do you think your experience is, or what would your experience be here?
I don't think he would have needed to capture a Strider for what he was doing, right?
Same.
But I think he does have experience tracking and stalking animals, so getting up to one I would assume, and then.
And I'm good at climbing things. But I feel like she dealt with them like maybe loading them onto ships, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So she'd understand their temperament, but that would be about it.
Maybe, every creature, big or small or smart or maybe slightly less smart, everybody likes music, right? And she looks at Doc.
That's a thought. They did,
Everyone likes
as
music.
long as they're calm.
Yeah, I will try to play a song of calming, a song of relaxation.
Calming in friendship.
Yeah, it sounds like spa music.
Well,
But like
Calming
80s
and
spa
friendship.
music.
What kind of spa?
are we talking about the kind of spa that's adult only?
Like the spa that gets delivered to you, or the spa that you go to? Just so we're clear.
Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll magic them up with some music.
All right. So, talk to me about the approach about this. The Deucin clan, they use the crystal skimmers to travel across, and so there's some element of domestication and going on there. So you, as a part of that tribe, that clan, you would have some level of experience in it, whether it was being a part of sort of the essentially the steering or the helming of one of these creatures, or on a different level, just maybe just the sort of the calming or the domestication of them. Would Nock have experience in any of that at all? I mean,
I think probably more the second one, right? Like he would, do what he's doing now for the people who are actually doing the hard work, right? He's playing the music and he's playing like a lullaby for them so you can wrangle them up.
Okay. So with that in mind, then, let's call this a difficulty 3.
Okay.
And then I want you to talk to me about the approach before you roll. Like,
I was gonna use like my hedge magic music magic.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll pay the 1 intellect for it. And I'll roll it up. Oh yeah.
All right. So talk to me about the song that you're playing, the melody that you're playing here. What is that conveying? Like, not just calm, but like, what is it like? What is the mood that you're establishing with it?
It's just like peace and tranquility, right? Like it like kind of bounces off of the landscape and kind of like harmonizes with the sounds of the swaying grasses and the the chirping of the bugs. It's almost like he's playing the atmosphere, right? Like if the song had a name, it would be like the description of the weather on the plains. You know what I mean? He's trying to play to evoke the feel of relaxing on the plains and grazing with the herd.
Okay. Sorry. So
I love the music too. Woo! Fucking great.
Was that a Landstrider? Is he into it? Is this now a concert for Nock? Do we have our choice of Landstrider?
Jesus.
Because I'd be down.
So the sort of the melody begins to kind of come out, and it feels like this natural order of things. And as the 4 of you slowly approach, Nock, I'm assuming that you're just continuing to play this melody in a way that just kind of like works with the sort of like the nature around you as the 4 of you are moving forward. And as the 4 of you are approaching what appears to be about a group of 5 Landstriders, Toll, you would know that, normally they would start to get a little agitated, but for whatever reason, they just continue to graze and continue to just kind of, do their thing as they slowly move across the plain, eating, tall, grass as they're moving forward. What happens next?
Did they look more docile than before?
They're not. So they that they would often start to get a little agitated. Imagine like a horse,
sure,
who just kind of who gets a little spooked.
Yeah.
They start to make noises and shuffle and get uncomfortable without actually running. That's generally what you would find with a land strider as well. When you get close to them, they are, on the other hand, not spooked at all. They are just continuing to do their thing as if everything is okay, as if you are all a part of the experience of nature for them.
Sure. Cool. I don't know how to tame a wild land strider, and it seems as though Alua also doesn't. So, I mean, my plan is I kind of look at Alua and say, I think if we just quietly go out there, and then at the last second, we leap up on top of them, and then just ride it out until they relax. And then the other two can just jump on with us.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, I got this rope.
I was gonna.
Your
use
plan
rope.
It makes more sense.
I was gonna use rope, but then I remember that striders don't have necks, so they're like a ball with giant arm legs. They don't really have necks, and I was like, where am I gonna put rope around?
Yeah, or it'd have to be a lasso that goes wide and pull it and it knocks them over, but that seems like it would hurt them. Yeah. So let's go with you.
So we're gonna sneak and jump on them, Johnny. I think that's the plan.
Sounds about right.
All right. So...
I mean, I've seen the movie, and that's what they did. They jumped on it. Granted, one of them could speak to animals, but that's a different thing entirely.
How many people can you fit on one, or how many gelfling can you fit on one?
Oh, that's true. I could have just asked it. I can speak to animals. I forgot about that.
Knock, fucking Christ.
Knock, would you like to change your role to that particular thing, or do you want to continue calming?
No. I want to use Velfa's idea.
No, I don't.
Velfa gave me this great idea to calm the creature. She didn't ask me to speak to the creatures.
Good job, Velfa.
Great.
Wow.
Oh dear.
I'm trying my best, guys.
Well, I was not trying to blame Velfa.
I'm not blaming her at all. I just think this is going to be funny as hell. All right. So you guys you're moving forward next to do this. Who's going to do the roll? Tell me about the roll itself. Your difficulty is still going to be 3 at this point, but you're going to take an asset.
I feel like we both have to roll because we're both jumping on one.
Might or speed? What do you feel in there, Toll?
I think the speed is what. I mean, it depends what the roll's for, right? So, Johnny, is it to jump up on its back as quickly as possible, or is it to hold on while it bucks like a wild strider?
Yeah. So normally when a gelfling would approach or whatever, it just you would essentially just walk up to it and jump onto its legs and just kind of climb up, because there's easy tufts of hair for you to be able to scale your way on top. So you could just do that and then see what happens. Or,
that's what I mean. But I assume it's a wild creature who doesn't want us riding on its back without permission. It's not trained, so I assume we would have to hold on while it runs itself out. Like breaking a horse.
Yep, sounds good. Cool. And
so I think might would be it.
Let's start with might. Okay. Difficulty 3, you said?
Yes, with an asset because of the calming.
Would my stalker ability help?
Describe to me how.
Because
I can climb. That's all I got.
I'm quiet, and it never hears me coming.
Yes.
Perfect.
I have climbing. Would that help me? I could probably climb this faster than him.
Probably, yes.
So 2 on the asset then?
Just click on the little dice next to climbing. If it's in your ability list.
We'll go with climbing instead of might. I got you.
Yeah.
Oh god. brain.
And then 1 asset.
Difficulty 3.
I failed. I am going to roll a thing.
I got it.
I believe I have. Hold on. I have 1 XP.
Do you want? I was just going to ask that this might be the time to roll some XP.
Yeah, I have 1 left. I'm going to do that again. So, Stalker. Difficulty 3.
I wish I could give you one.
Please fail. 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 Please fail.
Succeed.
All right.
Yeah, damn it.
Nice.
We succeed the same, so.
All right. So the 2 of you slowly make your way up, each approaching in a different way. Talk to me about the stalking of the first one, Toll.
So I think I imagine it would probably have to happen at the same time, right? Because it would probably spook the herd. But I think Toll approaches like he's approaching a kill, right? He just like quietly goes down because we're in the plains, right? So he quietly like creeps down into the grass, and he's slowly moving like away from Alua towards this creature, and then on like some kind of signal is when like he leaps up to like signal her to leap as well. But he's just approaching it from a very like low snake in the grass kind of maneuver towards this thing, so it never even sees him coming.
Okay. Now, Alua, talk to me about how you're going to approach this thing and climb up quickly.
Her instinct would be like one of the back sides, so it doesn't necessarily see her, and just climbing it as fast as she can once she gets a hold of it.
All right. So we're going to deal with Alua first because she actually climbs up much faster. So as you're approaching at the same time and both of you are moving in sort of unison, you immediately start to basically almost move up running speed 20 feet up into the air onto this thing and sort of seat yourself. Has Alua ever ridden a land strider in anything other than a casual pace?
More than a casual pace? Maybe, but more than likely regular pace would be, if at all.
Okay. So
she prefers to go by foot and climbing trees and stuff, but she would take one if it was more convenient.
Okay. And so as you kind of jump up and kind of grab onto this thing, it begins to buck a little bit, but you're able to hold on. But as you are doing that, it takes you a little bit longer to kind of manage and control this thing, just kind of holding on to it. And so you're grabbing onto parts of its mane just behind its ears as it's just beginning to buck and make a noise. And it's just really starting to kick out and kind of move around a little bit. And it's really just kind of circling and a little bit out of control. And this thing just kind of moves around and bucks and bucks and bucks and is coming right for Knock. I'm going to need some sort of like dodge or speed roll of some kind or like a dodge kind of a thing.
I can do that. I am good at dodging. All right, I will roll speed. All right, difficulty?
It's going to be 3 as well because this thing is like bucking and moving around and moving very quickly. But of course, you're going to get the asset for the calming song that you have sung to this thing.
Cool. Got him. I got him.
All right. So it's just kicking back and forth, and it's like a bucking bronco, except it's got like 18 feet long legs. But you're able to see this sort of coming, and you dodge left, you juke right, and then all of a sudden you just kind of roll right through the legs and just kind of make your way towards the other side to safety. Velfa, you notice this is happening and just are completely awestruck as Toll is just got onto his. Now, Toll, talk to me about your experience with riding Landstriders that is more than just at a casual pace. Have you ever been a part of anything that involved a charge or a rough, sort of a rough ride for the animal?
I think this would be outside of his like this specifically would be outside of his wheelhouse, but like a fast run would be something he would have had to do. Like, right, if they're going somewhere in a hurry as part of the castle guard, like he wouldn't have been going at a slow pace, right? Usually it's you need to get there as quickly as possible, right? So I think he has experience at a run, perhaps not at a charge, and definitely not at like a wild rampage.
All right, so this thing is kind of bucking around, but you were able to actually kind of hold on to it better because you have the experience. And Velfa, you just notice as Toll is kind of moving around and doing his thing, and it just kind of comes and just bucks around, and he's just gotten a better hold on it. And so as you expect it almost to come running towards you, he actually is able to kind of grab it and sort of rein it in. And this goes on for 30 or 40 more seconds for the both of you as the two of you on the ground are just kind of watching, and the other three Landstriders sort of scatter. But finally, the two of you were able to kind of get submission into both of these animals enough for them to take your sort of your hand commands, through the hair on their backs. And they come, sort of like, side by side, and they're kind of, making mewing noises and muttering noises, but otherwise have sort of calmed down, are now under your control.
I think we're good.
Excellent work.
We might need to tie your bag down.
Yeah, we should put that, probably saddle that or tie it to the saddle somehow. At this point, Alua would break something up to help Velfa's bag stay on her saddle. I can roll something if you want. I've got all sorts of tools and rope and stuff.
So with this here, once the Landstriders are sort of domesticated or some under your control, and you're able to kind of allow the two of them to be able to climb up, and your typical Landstrider can handle 2 to 3 Gelfling, although 3 Gelfling are really pushing it because the mass on the body on the backside is not enough to hold 3 Gelfling comfortably.
I feel like Velva's bag is equal to a Gelfling. It's one cubic Gelfling.
That checks out.
Yeah.
It's a Thra unit of measure. It's a cubic Gelfling.
He's not wrong.
It's like how back in the day it was like 1 foot was like King George's actual foot, right? It's 1 cubic Gelfling.
She kind of like holds her bag. She's like they're just sort of pleadingly.
We're gonna have to. I'm gonna make a pouch, and we're gonna put some of the stuff here and some of it on theirs. Okay.
But you have to be extra careful because a lot of these books are worth a lot of money, and I don't want to lose.
I understand that, but we also need to be able to move.
Okay, so she kind of starts with Alua separating some of her things and trying to balance out their weight.
And she shows you how sturdy. She straps it onto the saddle. She assures you that it's not going anywhere.
Okay. She gets her backpack and starts walking over to the other.
Knock, do you know where to go from here?
I can lead us. But it's been a while, and the tribe moves.
Are there markings or anything?
Not really.
Great. Okay, well, I guess that's it. We don't have much else to go on.
If we travel around, we should see evidence of the Elvert Ocean eventually.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Hopefully.
And he kind of like leans down and like gives a hand to pull you up.
Yeah. Climb up and get ready to get going.
Alua will do the same when she has all of the book things very safely in place. Knowing that if it's not, we're going to have to stop every 10 minutes.
We'll plan regular intervals. It's breaks.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to pee. It's just,
All right.
Johnny, you are muted, which is why we're not talking to you.
Yeah, I can imagine that I am. Look at that. Amazing. I was just going to ask if puppets have, the ability to, and then I just decided not to. Because that opens up a whole lot of questions. So I'm I'm assuming the four of you begin your journey on the two Landstriders once everybody has found their way on top and secured. And so the journey starts off quite slowly as you're having to coax speed out of the Landstriders. But Toll, you've had this experience before, so you know how to, once the Strider is under your control, sort of engage it such that it continues to move faster, encouraging it. And you know that Landstriders require a gentle touch more than sort of a firm touch, and so just coaxing it a little bit and just kind of nudging it and giving it soothing pats, on the head and behind the ears, continue to encourage it to move faster. These animals actually move incredibly fast. Having the long, legs and just the way that they are, they're also able to jump large distances and navigate, interesting obstacles, and, features of the land very easily. The journey happens very, very quickly for the two of you that are not, driving, because it really is a matter of, just sort of taking in and enjoying the land. And far off in the distance, as you're traveling across the Sprighton Plains, you're able to look back and you're able to see that the swamp of Sog is sort of dwindling in the distance of the horizon as you're moving towards the Crystal Desert. Across the plains, you see other groups of striders, and occasionally you see predators out there, among them the Rakita. But because you're moving so fast, you don't actually see you don't see any of them approaching, in any significant way. There might be one that starts to run in your general direction, and then there's a call, and the Rakita is called off, back towards a different direction. One feature of the land that you do notice off in the distance and forces you to investigate at one point is you see something dark and sort of just like a depression in the otherwise sort of grassy plains. That is the Sprighton Plains. And so as the four of you navigate on the Striders over to this particular area, what you find is unsettling. At first, it looks like a burn on the ground, in the grass itself. The ground is covered in such a way that it looks like ash. But when you look closer, you're able to, you're focusing on it, you're able to see sort of purple coloration glowing and burning at the edges where it's starting to spread. And as you get closer and closer to this, and you're beginning to witness this, your Landstriders first are beginning to move towards, and then just like horses who are unsettled, begin to make uncomfortable noises and start to resist heading in that direction. The Landstriders feel danger.
How far away is this purple glowing stuff?
You're able to get about 50 feet away from it before the Landstriders really begin to resist. But even there, you're able to see the sort of the purple glow that's going on the ground itself. The way that it's sort of shimmering and just sort of, it looks like embers burning on the edge of this thing, but it's purple instead of red and orange.
Has this ever been seen before? Do I know anything about this?
I was going to ask if I could do a perception or assessing danger.
I would love for the both of you to do something like that, coordinated or otherwise.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
I'm assuming you're going to do perception.
I also have assessed danger, but I mean, I roll bad, so let's both do it. What's the difficulty, okay. Johnny?
Both do assess danger.
The difficulty is going to be 3.
Okay. See?
I'm just carrying it today, boys.
As Alua should. I seem to remember that you were rolling 20s a couple episodes ago, right?
Yeah, and I didn't make my terrible joke last time. I did this time, though.
I'm bad at this game.
All right, so...
just need to give in to the McClokin method. It's time.
The trick is I usually just talk until Johnny forgets to make me roll for things, but he's been here for too long and he's getting wise to that strategy, and it's no longer working. Sam knows that strategy. It's you just talk a bunch, and then Johnny's like, that sounds cool.
Just do that. All right. So as you're both sort of assessing and taking this in, yeah, you don't seem to recall ever experiencing this before. It's yeah, in the last year of travel, with the awareness of what's going on with the darkening, nothing in your travels have sort of brought this up for you. For Alua, on the other hand, this reminds you of a tale that had come in on a trading ship among the Cypher. Its description was very similar, but it also included something that was like a sort of a burnt smell, an ashy sort of burnt sort of wafting that would come up. And just as you remember that, you get a sense of that, and it just kind of overwhelms you, and you realize that where this was talked about, eventually the area around it continued to be corrupted. It was a tale of a journey going to someplace and then coming from someplace, and in that time, this sort of swirling continued to grow, and it overtook a grove of trees and basically burnt them to embers. But the trees themselves glowed with purple embers.
We're gonna have to go around that. That's like a corruption fire. I don't know how to explain this except it's bad, and we cannot go that way. We're gonna have to go around it, or I think we're gonna have to go around it.
I didn't realize the corruption could be a fire.
I heard a story a while back, and it burned up trees and stuff. These things are afraid of it. Either they've seen it before, or it reminds them of a fire, which is good enough for them.
If we have to go around, we have to go around.
Round seems like a better option than through if it is fire.
I agree.
Right.
We take the long way.
The journey takes you longer as the striders make their way around. It adds a short period of time, but the suns are beginning to set as you finally make your way towards the edge of the Sprighton Plains, as you begin to see the ground becoming less and less dense with the sort of the grassy foliage that are the plains. And for Nock, you begin to see the land sort of dotted with crystals, some big, some small, all familiar remnants, callings of home.
Yeah, I mean, Nock is not very happy about being home.
Yeah.
So he's just, trying to ignore it for the most part. Yeah.
All right. And so as the four of you are making your way, you also see that the land striders are beginning to have a little bit of difficulty. Every time one of their paws or their hooves land on what looks like a large crystal, there's a little bit of a slip. They aren't able to get the sort of the traction that they need. And it causes them to stumble a little bit. And the difficulties, it's becoming more and more difficult to be able to actually, to kind of travel with them. You can see that the desert is still a mile or two. The edge of the desert is a mile or two out because it is marked by, larger formations of crystal and rocks. But you can continue to move forward with them. You also begin to hear very strange sounds, and those strange sounds and noises are actually very familiar to Nock, as those appear in your mind to be the sounds of the desert, the sounds of the home that you have left behind.
These guys are starting to have a rough time. I was thinking about us going back to being on foot, but Nock, what are these noises?
Do I know?
Yeah, there are a couple things that you hear. You hear the distant call of a skimmer. these large sort of manta-like creatures that fly through the skies that the Tues ride. Other things that you hear, though, are things like, hold on just a second as I pull it back up. You hear the call of moogs and pepper beetles. Sort of these both of these are shell creatures making sort of clipping and chirping and clicking sounds, with the moogs having essentially looking like hermit crabs, and their their claws sort of clapping together in rhythms. That is known as their sort of source of language, the way that they communicate.
Yeah, so I guess I just start telling people. So I think as each noise comes up, Nock will say what the different thing is. Like, oh, that's the skimmer. No, that's X, Y, or Z bug.
Okay. Are any of these things going to eat us? It's probably what I should have said.
Oh, no. Probably not. You're much more likely to die of thirst in the desert than you are to be eaten by something. That's why we brought lots of water.
Right. Water and probably, I assume this desert works like regular deserts. It would actually be cold at night, yes?
Yes.
Bundle up. Why don't we let our friends go free and start figuring out walking on foot again? And Nock, if you see an area that looks like it might have a people.
Yeah. I will do that.
Help Felfa put back together her backpack. Even though it's a murder backpack.
Thank you.
Murder backpack.
I'm not very familiar with sleeping in the desert. Is there anything I should know? Nock?
It gets very cold in the desert.
Great. Good. I'm dressed for
People think the desert is only hot because it's hot in the desert. But the sand does not hold heat the way the ground does.
Got it.
Yeah, that. Lua just says shaking her head.
Noted. What
and
Yes.
even though it's cold, keep drinking water. It still can dehydrate you.
What do you
Yes.
do to stop being cold? Is there like a cave, or do we dig a hole in the sand?
I would not suggest digging a hole in the sand. But what we could do is layer a lot of blankets on the ground, and that way you're sleeping on blankets and not on sand.
Got it.
Where I come from, at night we have tents because we travel. And it's hard to travel with a house, you see. But inside the tents are lots of blankets and carpets. It's very comfortable and warm.
I understand how
Sounds
tents
cozy.
work.
I love camping.
And why did you ask, Toll?
I didn't. I
sense that you're frustrated with me.
just now. He sensed. Right
It's been an ongoing theme, but I didn't want to bring it up until now. We were rather busy with attacking creatures and saving those podlings.
Let's just pretend that we're still very busy with saving the rest of the gelflings from these creatures.
Lua just rubs her head and looks at Belfo like, oh god, are we gonna have to deal with this?
So blankets. And he just turns and starts laying a blanket out on the sand in the middle of nowhere. I think I got it.
Lua would use her tools to try and make some sort of tent thing.
But no fire?
I have a candle.
You expect to be warmed by a candle in the desert?
No.
Listen, it worked in Rent. That's what she used the candle for, right? Was to keep warm.
It's true. Didn't didn't Nock have a torch?
He had Molotov cocktails. Those keep you warm for. Those can potentially keep you warm for the rest of your life.
He does have more Gelfling brew, if I remember correctly.
While they're looking for stuff in the fire, Velfa's like looking at her books and like scooting her backpack slowly more behind her.
Yeah. Can I perception or tinkering with devices to see if there's something around we can build a fire with, whether it's like driftwood or tumbleweed or.
There's a bunch of dried brush in the area. I mean, the desert, the edge, you're at essentially the edge of the desert, right? So there are rock formations and crystal formations. The desert is made mostly of like tiny like sand, but specifically crystal. So, but there are things that grow in the desert, and there are like you are at the edge of the Spartan Plain, so there is brush still there. There are things like occasionally that like trees and that have been dried up or whatever. So you are able to find enough to make essentially kindling and the makings for a fire.
Canvas fire.
And Lewis said, "Let there be light.
Let there be fire. Let there be light." Velfa, you're not going to burn your books unless something terrible happens.
All right. So the night begins to kind of crawl in as the three suns dip behind the horizon, as the three moons begin to rise. The brothers have gone, the sisters are rising, and they begin to crawl into the sky. And their light sort of shines across the desert, and as it kind of glimmers and glows in a very interesting sort of way, calling to Nock, giving him a sense of what home is. Give me Nock, talk to me a little bit about the experience that you had as a part of your clan before you were ousted. What role did you really play as a part of the clan?
He was one of the shamans, right? Like the Doshin, like he was probably like training to be in like one of the elder shaman roles. And like, be one of the people that's like out kind of communicating with the desert and helping provide wisdom for the clan. But yeah, he it's a little off for that.
Okay. So it occurs to you after the sisters have risen and the sky is dark, and that dark sort of like bluish black purple kind of a thing going on in the sky. It occurs to you that the light of the fire might be a bad idea. It is not uncommon for the Dusan to patrol on the crystal skimmers, looking for things in the desert that are going on, and light is always an attractor.
I mean, we kind of want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
okay.
Does he want that?
Well, okay, yeah,
that's
fair.
No, yeah, I want the group to succeed. Like,
okay,
yeah.
All right. So it's the night passes. The fire burns as much as it possibly can. It is colder than any of you have ever experienced before, except for possibly Velfa, who has grown up among the Vapor clan, has dealt with harsh winters. The suns begin to rise, and as the suns begin to rise, the heat begins to return, and it's then that you begin to hear, for Nock, a familiar sort of whooshing sound and a deep sort of rhythmic sort of flapping. First, now, the flapping sound comes in, and it's like this long, low sort of beat. And for Nock, you recognize it as a large crystal skimmer creature. You can hear it before you see it, kind of a thing, because of the way that the heat works in the desert and the way that it affects sight.
I will be like, you all hear that, right?
Yeah, that's one of the...
It's here.
Oh, okay.
Is it a rhythmic flapping?
Oh, yes.
I hear it.
I'm gonna start packing us up, Toll. I'm gonna put you in charge of talking. She just thumbs up as
You're
she
gonna put me
starts.
in charge of talking?
Velfa, you watch him while she starts packing up things.
I've been nice to almost no one. How is this?
Don't worry, I'll help you.
I think you're an excellent statesman, Toll.
You do the political. It'll be fine. And she just puts the fire out, starts packing away the tent and the blankets.
Despite all of the things you've seen Toll fight, he now looks nervous. Is there like a customary thing I should say to them, to your clan, or like, is there like do I need a hat or something? I don't understand. I know you guys worship death and like that kind of thing. Do I need bones? Knock, is there anything that could help me out with here?
She just looks at Velfa like, oh my god, is this incredibly racist?
I don't know what to do.
You know what, Velfa, you do the talking. Toll, and she just throws blankets at him.
I don't mind helping.
No,
it's good for him to learn.
You have all the books, and I'll do all the stabbing.
You stand there and be tough for her to let her do the talking.
I will stand there and make you look tough.
I'll do my best.
Great.
Perfect. She goes back to it. And just...
Toll immediately calms down and just grimaces and is ready for confrontation.
Velfa gives him like a little pat, like reaches up, pat on his shoulder.
Thank
you. The noise continues to grow and becomes overwhelming, but you can't see it. And for Nock, you realize that this is a tactic well known among the Deucin when they don't know what they're coming towards. And so covering your eyes a little bit, trying to look into the sky, you see that this crystal skimmer is way up high. And as the rest of you see him sort of looking up, you see this crystal skimmer it's off in the distance, and it literally looks like a flying manta ray. And at a moment, it turns and does this huge dive and comes sweeping down. And as it does, it brings this rush of air. I'm going to need all of you to give me some sort of a might roll to be able to stay on your feet.
Right.
Because it comes down and it just sort of whooshes and just hits you with this wall of air. Difficulty is going to be 5.
Is this might defense?
This is might defense.
Dope. I'm trying to.
And Nock, you're going to get
flying.
Nock is going to get an asset for this because he has experience dealing with this.
I don't even need it.
I fell on my ass.
I also
we all fell on our ass except for him.
Oh my god!
So much for keeping him hidden.
Wow. All right, so
I think what happens, in this moment, we see that big gust of air, and everyone's trying to keep their feet and fall over. And the only reason Nock is able to keep his feet is he wears all of those crazy layers of clothes, right?
Yeah.
So he basically just puffs out and acts like one of the skimmers and uses the clothes to catch the wind, and it takes him off his feet a little bit and then sets him back down.
Love it.
Velfa's backpack doesn't stand a chance, neither does It's just
I feel like Velfa would have gone further, but she had the backpack on, so it kind of weighed her down.
And Aluma's seen a lot of things, but not this, so she just completely was unprepared.
Same.
All right, so as this thing kind of swooshes around, the three of you are kind of knocked back and almost have the wind sort of taken out of you, while Nock is able to, kind of spin and turn and kind of watch this thing. And it just comes around. It just does its thing, comes around and banks, and immediately comes to sort of a hovering sort of halt above you as 2 ropes drop, and immediately 2 Deucin warriors fall, along the ropes towards the ground and immediately land, spears out, angled in the direction of the 4 of you. As another one begins to kind of shimmy down a little slower, the the two Deucin warriors with the spears take in the four of you, looking at the three on the ground. Immediately, their eyes fall onto Knock.
Who is unceremoniously trying to get up because it's sand and you can't gracefully get up from sand. As it's like pouring out of him because he dragged in it, and he kind of stands up and he's just dusting it off.
Knock, what is the mark that you bear for the Deucin as being an outcast?
I don't know. That's a good question. What would it be? Like a brand or something?
I don't think that there's some I don't think it would be so mundane as that. I mean, I think it would be something more that you were required to wear or required to bear as a part as a part of the outcast, because it gives you the possibility by wearing your shame in on your person and visible. It shows that you are trying to make amends. Or would Knock actually do this? Would he wear this thing in order to show his shame among his clan?
No, he definitely wears it because he's totally comfortable with that, right? He got kicked out. As far as he's concerned, he's been totally vindicated in everything he has ever believed, right?
It's true.
He was advocating how the Skeksis were treating people badly, and these divisions between Gelfling were unhealthy, and then literally all of it has been bearing out. And then the most recent thing that has just occurred was another piece of the puzzle falling into place, and him being like, it wasn't just some magic bullshit. This actually was an engineered social plot. What? So yeah, he's feeling very vindicated. And yeah. Why would he hide this?
I'm so sorry, but I just realized that Knock is the Bernie Sanders of Thra.
No!
Once again, I'd like to remind you that there is a Gelfling uprising about to happen. I'd like to once again, I come to you to remind you that the Skeksis are they're the bad guys here.
I've been thinking it this entire time, but I wasn't ready to go there.
Oh, that's so good. Knock for president.
All right.
So, what is the mark, or what is it? What is this item that you bear?
So it's probably a necklace, right? Do the Doshin have a specific symbol that they use? There's a clan symbol, right?
There is a clan symbol, right? It is the. Hold on, I'll find it for you. Anyways, long story short, yeah, you're gonna wear that symbol. So that symbol actually has a notch in it.
That's what I was imagining is a strike through of the symbol.
Right. That's exactly it. And so as you're bearing that, the two of them, the two spearmen kind of come up, and immediately the rest of you are ignored.
Yeah.
You bear the mark. What are you doing back here? You know the rights.
That is true. However, I was sent away for breaking laws that no longer exist. And I have stayed away until now. However, this is beyond me. I am here for the good of Thra. As are these good people who have died in the desert without my help. He didn't even know it got cold in the desert at night.
I don't see
that's a thing. She elbows Velfa to try to get her to take over the conversation.
Velfa had been staring off in the distance at a flower.
A desert flower.
One desert flower.
Oh, hi. And she sees just now notices all the things.
Alua immediately buries her face in her hands should I be talking?
Well, we're here for kind of an important reason, and I think you need to hear us out.
Yes, it's very important, and like all of my other ideas, very right.
And she like kind of like puts her hand over Nock's mouth.
And Alua does the same, like, shut the fuck up, this is not the time.
From the back, the two spearmen are on Nock. You're covering his mouth, trying to communicate with them. From the back, the third Deucin has finally made his descent. Looks to the four of you and says, Vapora child, what do you mean?
We have messages for the whole Aughra. It has to do with the Skeksis.
Alua just, normally she would not do this, but she senses this could go bad really fast. She sticks her hand out like, you want to see?
See what, child of the Cypher?
Well, it's easier seen than explained. There's a lot of bad things happening and we need to get a message to them.
The Deucin in the back steps forward even farther, and Nock, you recognize him as an elder of the shaman group. And he looks to you and he says, do you hold your mark true? To Nock, do you hold your mark true?
The reason I was sent away, still accurate. The laws I broke were laws when I broke them.
Do you trust her?
Of course. Why else would I be here?
And he turns and looks back to Alua and raises his hand. Show me.
She'd show him the village, the marks. She wouldn't be able to show him the dreams. The fact that it was obvious that these things were taken away, the corrupted animals we ran into, and then the big old crab things. And then probably a little bit of the warrior helping us, so he knows that there's a lot of different groups involved. And who we were sent by, probably included in there as well.
And as you're showing him all of this, you get information in return. You get this overwhelming sense of disruption among the Deucins. They have their Aughra is currently at Stone in the Wood, but there is dissension among the group. They do not necessarily all believe in the situation should involve them. Their isolationist tendencies indicate that they do not want to actually get involved, and that there is a looming group of the clan that want to completely separate from the Gelflings altogether and hide in the desert.
Make sure she would have included the fire at the edge of the desert that we had to involve, pointing out that, once she saw that, she'd want to point out, this is coming for you as well. You can't avoid it out here in the desert.
And as their hands, your hands kind of split, he looks troubled.
Yeah, that's a lot.
He looks back to Nock, and then he looks at you again, Alua. And he walks forward, never breaking eye contact with Alua, reaches for Nock's necklace, and pulls the chain, pulling the brand off of him. And he looks back. He looks back into the eyes of Nock, ready to speak, and that's where we're going to end it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Shit, that got heavy. That got heavy at the end.
Nice.
That got heavy real quick.
Nice.
By the way, you're fucked too.
That was a heavy episode. That was a lot. That was shenanigans at the beginning, and then it ended on a real dour note. Cool. Love it. That sounds just like this game. That being said, we are shenanigans and then a dour note. That's it. That's it for this episode. We have a few more this season, and then we're coming back in next season with some other fun games. Maybe City of Mist. Maybe these same faces. Who knows? Shh, don't tell anybody. That being said, let's go around, do our introductions. We'll get the hell out of your hair and let you guys go to bed. So we'll start with Johnny. Johnny, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? Because you weren't paying attention. And what are you up to? Perfect.
Yeah, that's
Nailed it.
Hi, I'm Johnny. You can find me at Video Store Cowboy everywhere on the internet, except for Twitter, where it's Vid Store Cowboy because character limits. I'm here every
Wednesday, and I'm
from
also
now
on
into
Dark Fortunes
infinity.
podcast, giving this guy a hard time as a pirate. All that crap, and then there are other things coming too. Anyways, thank you guys. Great game. Have a good night.
Sam, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to?
I am Sam. Twitter at TheWizenFool is the best place to see the stuff I am doing. Currently, I am here on Wednesdays, and then I am also doing a thing on AP Gaming Reels Patreon that gets released to YouTube later in the week. That is a BattleTech game, and we are kind of like combining the rules of Pendragon and BattleTech to have like recurring noble families within the BattleTech world. And we're about to do our second episode on Sunday, so that's been really fun and is worth checking out.
Sweet. Kitty, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
Hi, I'm Awkward Kitty Inc. everywhere on the internet. Twitch, Twitter, all that jazz. I'm a full-time streamer and a full-time freelance artist with open commissions. I like to make lots of emotes and all kinds of cute things, and I love to do role play and have a general good time.
Yeah, all the emotes you see in chat are actually done by Kitty. So if you need emotes, go check that shit out. And last but not least, we'll go over to Cherry. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you up to?
Cherry but Mom doing the Twitch thing mostly as well. On Twitter, you can see when I'm doing what, and my cats. A lot of cat pictures, which I'm Cherry but Mom 7 there. Back at the GTA, I'm playing a nurse. I'm playing a nurse. It's been interesting. It's been a lot of fun getting back to the tarot thing this week, and yeah, come on by.
There a little bit of Sally in that nurse?
No, but I have a character for something soon that might involve Sally. So when I make my return to space, RP-wise, let's just say in Star Citizen, I bought a space ambulance. So they're not ready for Sally and a space ambulance in the same room.
The world is not ready.
I actually have plans to bring Sally back to Twitch. So
nice.
Soon TM.
That being said, this is another episode of Age of Darkness in the books. We are out of here. We'll see you guys next week. So from all of us to you guys, bye-bye.